Good evening and welcome to the District of Sechelt regular meeting of Council of Wednesday, March 16th. And we are on the territory of the Sechelt Nation. So first on the agenda, there's a call to order and declaration of conflict. Do we have anyone declaring conflict? Councillor Scott?
I'll step out for item 10.4.
Thank you. And then staff, any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Sorry, Your Worship, staff is requesting that Council pull 10.2 before adoption of the agenda. This is regarding the film productions proposal. We were informed that they have chosen another location, but it was still a good opportunity for them to see Sunshine Coast, and I'm sure we'll hear from them again. And we will still be bringing forward a policy and fees and charges bylaw to a future meeting.
So then 8.2 will also be pulled this evening?
The fees and charges bylaw also,
Right.
yes.
Okay, so 8.2 and 10.2 will be deleted out of the agenda. Thank you. All right. Anything else from staff? So I'd look for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Thank you. And first is receipt of the staff reports. I'd look for someone to move and second. Move and second. All in favor? Thank you. We're going to start with appointments and delegations. And we have Annie Wise, Executive Director of Sunshine Coast Tourism, here with us. Welcome, Annie.
Hi, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, we ready?
Ready.
All right. I just wanted to say good evening and thank you for having me today. My name is Annie Wise, and I am the Executive Director for Sunshine Coast Tourism. I began this new role in August of last year after serving the previous 8 years as the Marketing Director. And I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining you today from the traditional and unceded territory of the Sechelt Nation, and that Sunshine Coast Tourism as a destination also includes the traditional and unceded territories of the Sechelt, Squamish, Kla'amin, Klahoose, and Homolko First Nations. It's an honor to live here and to work here. So I've shared with you our request for an annual funding amount of $12,800 for destination marketing services. This is separate from our contract with you to manage the Sechelt Visitor Service program. And I thought it'd be useful to provide a brief overview of our organization. We are a nonprofit association, and our mission is to build a strong and sustainable tourism economy on the Sunshine Coast, consistent with the values of its residents. And we work to achieve that mission through 3 primary pillars: destination marketing, destination development and management, and by working to increase the value of tourism and awareness of it among the government, residents, and businesses in our region. We are governed by a volunteer board of directors that are elected by our membership and represent different sectors of the tourism industry, including accommodations, recreation, arts, culture, and heritage. And we also have a full-time staff team of 4, including myself, plus our visitor services team in Gibsons and in Sechelt. In addition, we've also created 2 new tourism advisory committees, one for the southern half of the Sunshine Coast and one for the northern, as an additional opportunity for our stakeholders and partners to be involved and share information and perspectives. The first meeting of that committee is scheduled for next week, and I'd like to thank Councillor Toth in advance for his participation. As a nonprofit, we receive both public and private funding from 3 primary sources: our local governments, our stakeholders, and our visitors. And for over 10 years now, each of our local governments has provided a collective annual amount of approximately $80,000, with $40,000 coming from the Northern Sunshine Coast, so the Kitsap Regional District and the City of Powell River, and another $40,000 from the Southern Sunshine Coast, so the SCRD, Town of Gibsons, and the District of Sechelt. And with the shares within that are based on a population percentage. This core funding that we get provides us consistency and stability to base our operations on. And we use that base as a springboard to then manage the municipal and regional district tax, or also known as the 2% MRDT. That program we manage for our region, and we then create programs and partnership opportunities for local tourism businesses within that funding. And then on top of these three pillars, we also work to pursue other funding opportunities in the way of grants. And of course, we also have the service contract with you to provide visitor services. And one specific note I wanted to make was that in late 2018, the province changed the MRDT legislation to actually include short-term rentals as collectors of the MRDT. Before that, it was only levied on larger accommodation stays with 4 or more units of accommodation. And so the other thing they changed along with that allowance for short-term rentals was also that in addition to destination marketing, that specific bit of money would also be able to use on affordable housing initiatives. And so being not an affordable housing authority, we decided to work with our local governments and create a first of its kind in the province, cross-government collaboration on how to spend that money. And we send the majority of those short-term rental revenues that we receive through the MRDT back to local government for affordable workforce housing initiatives. And in the spring of 2021, we sent approximately $86,000 back to the Sunshine Coast Regional District for implementation of their affordable housing plan. And that was the amount that after collection for most of 2019 and 2020. And then now that we have another year of collection saved up, we expect to have another 80 to 90,000 this spring based on last year's collections. And then with our budget, we run 3 primary programs, one for destination marketing, a second for visitor services, and a third for destination management and develop. So these are the these are the 3 streams that we're working within. And as a percentage of our budget, here you can see each category and how it relates to our budget as a whole. And just as a note, the money for workforce housing, which I was just mentioning, is held aside in annual disbursements and isn't included on our regular operating budget. So that's why you don't see it on this graph. So how are things going? This graph shows accommodation room revenues for the past 6 years. And this is only the traditional accommodation properties like hotels, motels, and resorts. And this particular graph doesn't include short-term rentals unless they happen to operate 4 or more units. You can see that despite no new major hotel developments, revenues have grown steadily up to the pandemic through 2019. And while the pandemic did hit our region hard in 2020, our region recovered and actually overtook pre-pandemic levels by 20% in 2021, reaching overall room revenues of approximately $25 million this last year. And now with short-term rentals also collecting MRDT, we have some new data to add to the mix, which you can see there in green. And just as a note that while there were definitely short-term rental revenues prior to 2019, we just don't have that data because MRDT was not collected at that time, and that's how we get this data. So you can see now that with both traditional and short-term rental accommodations included, the room revenues are just shy of $40 million annually for our region. And while these numbers do suggest impressive growth for our industry, we know that as Sunshine Coast Tourism, our work has really only just begun. It's more important than ever that as Sunshine Coast Tourism, we continue to drive seasonal and geographic dispersion to our region, support a high quality visitor experience, and that we work to manage the destination for the benefit of our residents and visitors alike. So now I'll just share with you a brief highlight from each of our core programs. Our destination marketing is truly focused on winter and shoulder season efforts and encouraging visitors to responsibly explore when and where it's needed. Our most recent campaign invites visitors under the slogan, "It's time to shine," which reminds them that the Sunshine Coast brings out our inner well-being by connecting with nature, exceptional culinary and cultural experiences, and highlights the benefits of traveling locally to a mostly lower mainland audience. For visitor services, we have an incredible team here in Sechelt that are working hard to provide exceptional service to our guests. Our visitor information counselors provide service both in person and digitally through phone calls, email, social media, and other places like TripAdvisor forums. Our counselors are focused on encouraging visitors to stay longer and to do more while they're here, which works not only to increase visitor satisfaction, but also strengthens the economic impact of each visitor. We look forward to what's shaping up to be a very busy summer with the expansion of our services with our new Jeep, taking our service on the road. We've now finalized our mobile services plan and we'll have the Jeep out in the community within the next couple of weeks. And if you see the Jeep out and about, be sure to stop in and say hi. And finally, our board and staff have recognized the need for many years now to focus more specifically on destination development and management. This is truly about the supply side of the destination equation. Our marketing has always been about generating demand, and we think it's clear that that's going well. The supply side, though, means that we are looking at the destination more holistically to ensure our success both now and far into the future. We are pleased to receive grant funding through Island Coastal Economic Trust to fund a new position, and we are actually able to hire our former executive director, Paul Kamen, into this role. And to share a few highlights of what we've achieved through this role over the past year, we secured over $500,000 in grant funding specific for tourism development in our region, including new signage, trail improvements, and active transportation planning. We've also worked to secure an additional $300,000 in counting for other organizations, including the successful CERP grant, the Community Economic Recovery Infrastructure Program, that just came in for some of our local partners. And with many more grant opportunities identified, we now have the capacity as an organization to make sure that the Sunshine Coast is getting its fair share of these provincial and federal grants. And to ensure effective consultation and transparency on this process, we also have a Destination Management Council, which has a cross-section of residents, industry, government, and other organizations such as BC Parks to collaborate and share progress, perspectives, and gather input on our ongoing efforts as they relate to destination development. One other important project that I wanted to share with you that you can see on your screen there. This last year, we launched the Sustainable Sunshine Coast Initiative. This initiative works to both attract and educate respectful visitors with sustainability awareness messages related to key issues in our area, such as water conservation, wildfire awareness, wildlife interactions, greener transportation choices, and a whole bunch more. The campaign also, at the same time, works to support our tourism businesses to help them reduce their impacts and build more sustainable operations. So I know that's a lot in a very short period of time, and I'd like to thank the District of Sechelt again for your ongoing support, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Don't see any hands up. Councillor McLean?
Yeah, thank you. On the slide, one of your slides, you show room revenue, traditional versus short-term rentals. And I'm wondering if that is representative of all short-term rentals, or are there some that are not being caught under the MRDT?
I mean, certainly it's possible that some are flying under the radar. It is, of course, every business, by provincial law to, if they meet the requirements set forth in provincial law to collect and remit taxes, which, includes PST and MRDT. Whether they're all 100% in compliance, I don't know, but, it's hard to avoid the tax man. We'll just put it that way.
Okay, perfect. So it is a general representation. I had heard that it was only Airbnb and not other operations. So it's good to see that it covers some of those other platforms.
The main difference with Airbnb is they collect it direct at source on behalf of their hosts. So if you're a short-term rental that does not list on Airbnb, or perhaps you list on Airbnb and also sell your accommodations through your own website or over the phone or wherever else, then it's their responsibility to collect and remit those taxes directly, just as any other business would.
Scott?
Do you get a listing of the B&B operators that are remitting, like an individual listing of the tax remittances?
No, because they remit directly to the Ministry of Finance, then the Ministry of Finance sends the MRDT money back to us just as a lump sum. So we don't have a list of who.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor McLean?
Yeah, so there's a breakdown of your budget that mentions destination development is 36% of your budget. Is that mostly grant driven? Because you have been quite successful in the past year for grants.
Yeah, that's almost entirely grants. And so that as a percentage will change quite wildly from year to year, depending on what grants we're able to secure.
Perfect. So yeah, it could go up, could go down.
Exactly.
But I think you guys have been doing pretty good in the last year for sure. I've seen some good projects come out of destination development.
Thank you.
Thank you. Annie, could you, I know you mentioned Sunny, the Jeep. Could you give us some kind of idea of what sorts of things we'd see the Jeep at, and you know what you're planning, kind of what's the plan for using that?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a full in-depth plan that I'd be happy to share with you as a follow-up. But essentially, the idea is that the Jeep is an opportunity for us to meet visitors where they're at. We know that the current brick and mortar location is not necessarily capturing all the visitors to our region. And so we intend to be at some of the key festivals and events. So we're really excited to see, especially as we get, further away from the pandemic, that some of these key events are coming back, as well as sort of visitor hotspots. So locations like the Davis Bay Seawall, Snicket Park, Friendship Park, Porpoise Bay, key locations around the town where we can set up and meet people where they are. We'll bring maps and other print collateral brochures with us, and our visitor information counselors will be able to do some outreach and chat with folks. We've talked a lot with other communities across the province that have mobile visitor service programs, and they're all trending upward in terms of their visitor counts, and they seem to be working really well in some other communities. So we've taken some learnings from our partners elsewhere, and we're hoping that we'll have a really successful season with that.
Thank you. All right, Council, any final questions? Seeing none. Annie, thank you very much for taking the time to be here. Thank you for putting the presentation together. I think we all have your contact information through that, so we can reach out directly if we have any further questions. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item 4.1. This is a proclamation for Purple Day for Epilepsy Awareness, March 26th, 2022. So whereas Purple Day is a global effort dedicated to promoting epilepsy awareness, and whereas Purple Day was founded in 2008 by Cassidy Megan, a 9-year-old girl from Nova Scotia who wanted people with epilepsy to know that they are not alone, and whereas epilepsy is not rare, and 1 in 10 persons will have at least one seizure in their lifetime, and whereas the public is often unable to recognize common seizure types or to respond with appropriate first aid, and whereas epilepsy is a very serious condition, and although death is not frequent, individuals do die from unexpected seizures, and whereas Purple Day is celebrated annually on March 26th to increase knowledge, reduce stigma, and improve quality of life for families and communities affected by epilepsy in British Columbia and globally. Now, therefore, I, Darnelda Seegers, on behalf of the District of Sechelt Council, do hereby proclaim that March 26, 2022, shall be known as Purple Day for Epilepsy Awareness in the District of Sechelt. Thank you. We'll move on to item 5.1. This is adoption of the minutes of the council meeting, regular council meeting of March 2nd. First, any errors or omissions in the minutes? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to adopt. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Moving on to item number 7.1, minutes of the Advisory Planning Commission meeting of March 1st, 2022. This is pages 31 through 35, and these are before us just for receipt. Move receipt. Seconded. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item 7.3. This is minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of March 9th, 2022 for receipt and endorsement. Moved. Seconded. Any errors or omissions before we adopt this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. And we're moving to bylaws. First bylaw, 8.1A, this is the septage disposal fees amendment bylaw number 483-5, 2022. And over to Mr. Douglas, Director of Financial Services.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through the budget process, we council recommended to staff that we present council with an increase to the septage disposal fees that we collect by 6.2%. Included in the report is a little table that shows what the rates would be with the 6.2% increase. And that we are recommending that this would come into existence as of May 1st, 2022. Gives us time to notify the haulers and have everybody on board with the increase.
Thank you, Council. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, there is a recommendation. Councillor Lamb. Okay.
Yeah, I was just looking at it on page 40. So I'm just looking at this. It says refund to property owners with permitted holding tanks. So, with permitted holding tanks, okay. So, it says they pay, do they get are they paying just 12 cents a liter for getting their tanks pumped or like for their receiving their septage? Or
yeah, they're paying, well, if you put it per gallon, it's 2 cents per gallon, per imperial gallon.
Yeah, okay.
That rate was checked with other jurisdictions and it was very, very close to what others charge.
So what if I don't, so I have a holding tank on one of my developments, and so what would I pay the 0.55 cents per liter per gallon, 55 cents per gallon?
Correct. You would pay that, and then you would submit for reimbursement of 53 cents of the 55.
Okay.
Now the people with the tanks, they pay the hauler rate when we don't. There's no refund, of course, for any hauling fees or anything like that. It's just the dumping fees.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm just kind of anyways, I'm just kind of struggling with it a bit, but yeah. And so they take the septage and dump it in our septage receiving at Dusty Road. Okay. And they pay 2 cents a liter to have it, 2 cents a gallon to have it dumped up there. Okay. Okay. It just seems pretty, I'm just trying to see what that cost would be compared to a person on sewer, but what the sewer fee would be compared to that, but that'd be too complicated. Thanks. Thank you.
There's a good question there. And overall, like somebody with a holding tank would probably pay for 5 or 6 trips in a year, up to 5 or 6 trips in a year. Yeah. So they're paying, the hauling fee that many times plus the 2 cents per gallon.
And this is only for ones that are designated.
Correct.
They have to have a permit or something by.
Good question. Yes, thank you. I believe there's only 3 in our municipality, and we don't approve them. Like we don't intend on approving more unless there's their property. They just cannot have a system on their property or cannot tie into our sewer system.
Yeah. I guess if there's only 3, then it's but it's, I guess for myself, it's just, once again, there's somebody there that's using our sewage treatment system, and are they paying the same? They bought the property, they knew they had to put in a holding tank. That's their problem. Hauling the septage away is their problem. But once that septage hits our facility, it's the same as, they should be paying the same rate for that septage as a guy on the street, but it's the great unknown. So anyways, it's just
So
thanks
am
a
I
lot.
hearing your question is, are the people with holding tanks paying the same user fee that people who are attached to sewer are?
Well, yeah. I mean, in reality, that they're using our septic facility. It's our sewage facility. That's the only way it works.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a septic tank and it just goes out into your yard and disappears there, and you get your tank pumped every 10 years, that's a whole different thing. But when you have to use our sewer facility to accommodate the fact that you have a holding tank, I just, it's.
Is that a question you could address? Okay.
Just to respond through the mayor, the holding tank produces a totally different type of product that we would take at the treatment area. Probably with the holding tank, you're getting 90% water versus with a septage, a proper system. Somebody's bringing in stuff from a proper system. You're probably getting something that's 10% water.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, have you got your question answered, Councillor Lamb?
You know what? This could, for 3 people and for 3 holding tanks, we could get into this pretty good right now, but I'm very comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so there is a recommendation on page 39. Recommendation number 2. Councillor Rowe.
I'll move recommendation number 2, that the District of Sechelt Septage Disposal Fee Amendment Bylaw 483-5, 2022 be read a first, second, and third time.
And is there a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Moving on to the actual bylaw, 8.1B on page 41. This is District of Sechelt Bylaw number 483-5, 2022. A bylaw to amend District of Sechelt Septage Disposal Fees Bylaw number 483, 2009. And I look for someone to move first reading. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And then District of Sechelt Bylaw number 483-5, 2022. A bylaw to amend District of Sechelt Septage Disposal Fees Bylaw number 483, 2009. And someone to move second reading. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. And District of Sechelt Bylaw number 483-5, 2022, a bylaw to amend District of Sechelt Septage Disposal Fees Bylaw number 483, 2009, and someone to move third reading. Moved, seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Moving on to item 10.1. 8.2 is not coming forward tonight. Moving forward to 10.1. This is development permit for 5546 Inlet Avenue, Legion number 140. And Mr. Kowitz, Senior Development Planner. Thank you.
Thank you. A very brief presentation of this application for you. Great. So for consideration tonight is the development permit for the new Legion property on Inlet Avenue at 5546 Inlet Avenue. Again, this is the former location of an automotive repair facility, and that was purchased by the Legion organization where they intend to relocate to from their existing Wharf Avenue location. This property is designated downtown center, appropriate for commercial uses, and was rezoned to facilitate neighborhood pub use for the Legion's operations recently. This is the development permit to facilitate the form and character for an addition that is planned for the rear of the building to expand the uses slightly to provide some room for offices, a kitchen, and to allow the main building to be used for Legion functions. The existing building was previously used, as I noted, as automotive repair. There's two repair bay vehicles at the rear, accessed off Periwinkle Lane, and along the front is a front entrance door as well. The building is anticipated to receive upgrades to the front facade as well as the rear. Parking would continue to be located at the rear of the building, along with waste collection and access into the building. And mostly along the front, it will remain as is, with some new siding, new standing seam siding installed, along with some landscaping, planters, and signage for the Legion. This is the proposed floor plan, where you can see that most of the addition area is in the form of a kitchen, as well as some office space and washrooms. The development permit area for downtown Sechelt has a number of objectives that relate to all new development in the downtown, both new buildings as well as additions above a certain threshold of value, as well as floor area. So this building does apply for the DPA areas, and staff have reviewed them. Considering the context of an existing building and a addition to the rear of the building rather than an entire redevelopment. All of the guidelines were evaluated. Some of them clearly don't apply to this building, and the ones that were applicable have been evaluated and are included as an attachment to the staff report. Parking was evaluated, and with a proposed occupant load of 65 seats, 12 off-street parking spaces are being provided at the rear of the building, consisting of 3 small car spaces, 8 standard spaces, and 1 accessible space. This would provide for a rate of 1 per 6 seats. This reduction in parking does facilitate the continued use of the rear parking, along with revitalization of the existing building. So staff recommendation is to issue the development permit, subject to authorization from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. And that's, as explained in the staff report, that's in relation to the contaminated sites regulation. And we're expecting a clearance letter to be received very shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kowitz. There is a question from the applicant in the chat, put forward, or the Q&A put forward. I'm wondering if you could address that. Can you see the question?
Yes, I see that. The APC did make some additional comments around making the rear entrance more prominent to be an entrance that was available to the public to use. And staff feel that that entrance is adequate for the purpose of providing access to the building from the rear parking area.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Seeing no questions, there is a recommendation on page 43. What would you like to do? Councillor Kuster?
I'll move recommendation 2 that council approve development permit 2021-34-5546 Inlet Avenue, subject to the authorization from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded. Councillor Lamb, did you have a question? No. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Kobowitz.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 10.3. So this is the parcel tax roll review panel appointments. And Manager of Financial Services, Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the purpose of the panel, as per section 201(2) of the Community Charter, states that parcel tax roll review panel consisting of a minimum of 3 persons must be appointed by council if a municipality receives a complaint or on one or more grounds set out by section 205(1) of the Charter. For your reference, I have attached the Charter to this report. The parcel tax roll review panel meets for the purpose of considering any complaints respecting the parcel tax roll and the authentication of the roll. Council is to establish the time and the place for the sitting of the panel and to give advance notice of the sitting. And advance notice of the time and place will be published in accordance to section 94 of the Community Charter. So the parcel tax roll will be made available to the public for inspection for 2 weeks. And in this case, it's actually already been available for 1 week starting last Friday, March 11th. And it's been advertised in the Ghost Reporter and on our website that it is available. The public have until Friday, March 25th to submit any corrections to the roll, and information regarding requests for corrections will be provided to the parcel tax roll review panel on Tuesday, April 12th, 2021 at 5 p.m. via a Zoom meeting. The current parcel tax charges that the District of Sechelt are sewer, water, and recreation. And this is the end of my report. And thank you. And I can take any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Seeing no questions, we have a couple of recommendations on page 69. I don't know if you necessarily need to read them. Councillor Scott?
I'll move recommendation 2 and 3. Do you want me to read them out or?
I think they're fine.
We're good with that. All right.
Is there anyone who'd like to second those recommendations? Seconded? All right. All those in favor? Thank you very much. Councillor Scott? Okay, we're moving on to item 10.4. 10.4 is Sechelt Airport Lease Modifications Agreement, Scott Meyer Maneely. Over to our corporate officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is in essence a housekeeping matter. When we were recently reviewing this particular lease with a previous amendment that was made to add a licensee, it came to our attention that Mr. Maneely, although having been an occupier of a portion of the hangar for over the last 10 years, had not actually been added formally as a licensee. And this affects his ability to sell the property in future. And also he hasn't been on the BC assessment tax roll. So in conversation with Mr. Maneely, he chose to submit the letter that you see there dated February 9th, 2022, attached to the staff report, requesting that as a part owner of the hangar, he would like to be formally added to the lease. And so the modification agreement attached to this report will affect that once adopted. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions? All right, there is a recommendation on page 78. Councillor Toth.
I will move recommendation 2 that the airport lease agreement between Eric and Patricia Scott, Beatmeyer, and the District of Sechelt be amended by adding Vincent Maneely as a licensee. Further, that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute the modification agreement as presented.
Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. And we will bring Councillor Scott back. And we'll move on to item 10.5, Engineering Operations Division Capital Project Updates. I think council will see if you have any questions. Mr. Dillon, is there, while council's looking us over, finding their questions, is there anything further you'd like to add to what we have in front of us? Any updates?
No updates of note, except that for the airport lighting, we received bids and they're going through the bid compliance review process right now. So I don't have numbers yet, but you should be getting numbers at the next regular council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb?
I was just wondering if we've got an update on how we're proceeding with the metering of the septage coming from the Seashelled Indian Band.
So last indication is that they had hired Kerwood Lydell to do that, and that the installation was going to happen. There was a contribution from us that was going to go towards that, and that's being lined up. So I don't have exact timelines on installations, but we can report back to you at next council meeting on where that's at.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Megan, who's leading that project, is just not away this week, so wasn't able to touch base with her.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah. Okay, I know one of the questions I'm gonna, because I think part of the failure for the meter before was it was battery powered or something like that. I'm not really too sure how it was powered, but when we find out how they're moving ahead, of just hopefully we have a meter in there that's not going to that's going to work and keep working. So, thank you.
Thank you, Council. Any further questions on the report? Councillor Lamb, did you have another question? Okay. All right, no further questions or comments? Thank you for the report. We do appreciate the updates.
Thank you, Your Worship.
All right, over to council reports. We'll start at the end of the table here with Councillor Scott and work our way down the table, and then we'll go to maybe Councillor Lamb and then Councillor McLean. Councillor Scott.
We met last Friday with the Sunshine Coast Drag Race Association up at the airport, just to go over some of the items that were decided and discussed at last council meeting and talk about next steps. Have a look at the runway as to how we can facilitate for the 3 events that we've approved for this year, and make sure that we're all on the same page as to what the limitations are, what they can and can't do, and go forward. So we had a look at the road from the north side for access for them. It looks like it's going to be workable. And then open the discussion on putting forward a business plan, as was discussed at the meetings here, to move forward for their next stage of what the Drag Racing Association looks like and where they're going to operate. So it was a good meeting. I think it went pretty well. And we've got a solid plan for what's going to happen for this year, and hope to see the proposal from them for the go forward, and we can continue with it. Anything to add? No? Okay. And that's it from me.
Thank you. Councillor Toth.
Thank you. Not too much constituency related. I did attend the Church Road groundbreaking ceremony with all the directors from the regional district last week. Great news that it's finally moving forward, and I'm looking forward to the next water project moving forward. We've got far too much catch-up work to do. Took part in a CBC interview with Justin McElroy earlier today on sort of growing communities and challenges that come with that, with a side story on why Seashelt is obviously better than Gibson's as part of the BC's best small town bracket challenge he's doing. And then I think the final thing I want to report on is that this Sunday, I'll be participating in Director Donna McMahon's Opinionated Regional Districts Workshop. That's on March 20th. I took part the last time around and really enjoyed it. The more that we can educate the public, the better, even if it is all opinionated. We don't have enough room here in council chambers for everybody to come out, so anything we can do. Yeah, that's really all I've got to report this week. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
The only thing I've been up to is reviewing all the applications for our CIP grant program and just trying to get through them all by the end of next week so we can move forward on that in April. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Kuster.
Nothing to report this week.
Thank you. Councillor Lamb.
Yeah, I attended the Skulto meeting on Monday, on March the 14th, and as always, that group is on the go. All the, you know, they got their feet on the ground every day. But one of the things, so they received a $105,000 grant from the Central Chamber of Commerce, and so. Anyways, they've and that's with regards to keeping your purchases local. Anyways, so they got $105,000, and anyways, so they're on time and on budget with that. One of the things they've said is that they're getting a lot of inquiries about people. A lot of inquiries from people looking for business opportunities on the coast. And so that's a very positive thing. And they had a meeting with Patrick Weiler. Oh boy. And it was with regards to putting ideas together for the federal budget to see if there's something that the federal budget can help out with. Want to set up business. Yeah, and so the other thing is they've had a meeting with the Ministry of Agriculture. There's a lot of stuff going on with regards to agriculture in the communities and growing obviously food in your community. And apparently, if you go on BC, it's BC Eco Development Association. Oh, that might be in something else. Anyways, the agricultural front, there's quite a bit of information there as to the support that's available for that. And the other thing is People's Choice Awards. They're going to do that again this year. And so you have to nominate people, and that's between April 9th and 14th. And they're going to have 118 categories. So that's one for every business in Sechelt. And anyways, and the other thing they're doing is they're getting a lot of interest from for the airport development, and wondering, you know, what the district of Sechelt plans are, and how people can come in and use that new facility. So anyways, that's my report. It's nice to be back. Sort of.
Yeah, okay. Over to Councillor McLean.
Yeah, thank you. So we had a bit of an impromptu FAC meeting a couple weeks ago regarding the continued schedule change and the lack of the L route. So I think the change the move to continue that was a bit short notice last time around. So this time they've given us much more notice. And unfortunately, the L route will not continue until June 22nd. So at that point, the summer schedule kicks in and we get our 2 boats back. And BC Ferries is very confident that we will be able to operate our summer service. And part of the reason that gives them that confidence is something I learned, is that the engineers, which are the main issue here, they need more first engineers out of Departure Bay. They actually travel with the ships. So for example, right now we have the Queen of Coquitlam running. All the engineers who work on the Queen of Surrey are still with that ship as it's in retrofit in Richmond right now. So they kind of just switch the crews around so they know their ship very well. So that means we'll get our regular crews back for June 22nd. The Housing Action Table has a meeting coming up on April 5th. They have had the opportunity to meet with David Eby, who's the Minister of Housing and Attorney General. So we have an opportunity to ask him questions directly about the housing needs assessment report or implementation report. So if anyone has questions, feel free to forward them to me and I'll get them forwarded on and potentially asked to the minister. And then finally, we had our inaugural Sunshine Coast policing meeting. So I thought that was a pretty good experience. The one thing I really did want to highlight is that the BC Highway Service or Highway Patrol formerly had 2 officers on the Sunshine Coast here. They're going down to, or they're currently at 1, and they will be going down to 0. And they'll be staffing us from the lower mainland, and they'll be traveling over. So that is a concern that we are losing that capacity. It's not our core capacity. It's not the part that we fund, but that may mean that our officers need to pick up some of that slack. But in good news, the position that the District of Sechelt funded, and we increased our service, should be coming on late spring, early summer, as well as they have a community engagement staff person who is in the process of security clearance right now. That's all I got.
That's all I got. Thank you very much. I'll mention a few things. Travel Guys, they have a half-hour TV show. They've been running for 18 years. They shut down during COVID. The first show they're going to put together is on the Sunshine Coast. So they were up here, and I had a little bit of a talk with them. It'll probably be cut down to a minute or 2. Anyway, good. They spent 3 days here on the Sunshine Coast filming and checking out different locations. ICE-T, so Island Coastal Economic Trust. The membership of that is the mayors and chairs of the area. So on the Sunshine Coast, because I hold the position as mayor and chair of the regional district, Vice Chair Donna McMahon was appointed and accepted by the ICE-T board to be sitting at the meeting. So she came to the meeting on Friday. I attended again the Davis Bay Seniors Afternoon Tea. And I want to thank Councillor McLean again for initiating this. It's been a lot of fun. This is the 3rd of 4 teas. The next and last one is April 11th. And for the one on Sunday, they had the Sunshine Coast Community Orchestra there. So they had 5 members of the orchestra there. They were up playing. People had a great time. It was, we added up, it was about 45 people that came in 3 hours. So they have 3 different seatings. They come, you pick your choice of tea from Davis Bay Tea. They serve you, and they bring out a little tray of goodies. They get scones and sausage rolls and all kinds of things. And then whatever isn't eaten at the table, they take home with them. Cool. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, they have scones with clotted cream and jam, and it's really good. And they've got the tables all set with nice, tablecloths and cups and saucers, and it's quite neat. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. And as I said, Councillor McLean initiated that with the Davis Bay Community Association, so it's been good. A couple upcoming things. We're in the process, a few of us are in the process of putting together an election campaign school. It will be held online for the first 2 sessions. 3rd session will be women only, in person. So the first 2 sessions will be open pretty much to anybody in BC. So information will go out about that. And we've got quite a lineup of people who are taking part. And it'll cover all of the topics. Watch for ads in the paper as well. And then the Sechelt District Chamber of Commerce has their AGM on March 31st. So they will be electing their new executive. So that's open to all chamber members and I believe anybody else who would like to come. So Councillor Toth, over to you for your SCRD report.
Thank you. SCRD report is attached. As I mentioned in my council report, Church Road Wellfield project is underway, and in fact, at the the sod turning ceremony, we could actually hear the chainsaws in the background of them doing some tree clearing for the pipeline route. So they weren't even waiting for the shovels to get into the ground before they started work. So that's great news. There is contingency built into the project for bonusing if Macon is able to get the project online earlier than the timeline. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, happy to take any questions on the report that's here. The upcoming meetings, Community Services Committee for tomorrow afternoon has been canceled. Yeah, otherwise, on the page 88 at the very top, the second page of my report mentions the fiber optic internet being brought to Gambier and Keats Islands. We have received a huge volume of email about that project. I think I've got 107 emails in my inbox still to deal with. So obviously people on the islands are very excited about the prospect of being able to get some reliable internet service over there and what that means for them in terms of personal and business growth. So yeah, happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions? All right, seeing none, we will move on to council correspondence.
I just want to point out my computer died, so I've dropped off the Zoom meeting.
Okay, but you're still here.
But I'm still here.
Okay.
My apologies.
All right, so council correspondence. First, a motion to receive all the correspondence. Moved, seconded. All in favor? Thank you. And then the items in the correspondence. I'll talk about item number 1 first. This is the Sechelt Chamber of Commerce Summit Report. I'm putting together a response from council and staff to the items that are in there. I'll work with staff to make sure I've covered it off. I think most of the items that are indicated in the report are things that we're already doing, or we have projects underway to deal with some of them. And I just think that information needs to be disseminated. So I'll make sure that council gets a copy of the response once that's complete. Item number 2, Affordable Housing Society liaison request. And they've indicated in there that Councillor McLean has been coming to their meetings. Councillor McLean, are you okay with continuing to be our liaison to that group?
Yep, I'd be happy to continue on that.
Thank you. So I don't think we need to do anything further. Councillor Lamb?
Yeah, I was just wondering on that response to the chamber letter, would it be possible to maybe see a draft before it goes out, or?
You bet.
Yeah.
Love your input. Yeah, no problem. We'll put it together. I'll put it together, run it by staff. They can see what I've missed, what I need to add, et cetera. We can run it by you, and then before we do that, Councillor Todd.
Thank you. I just wanted to take a moment to actually commend our planning and engineering staff, because we heard at the start of the term that there were challenges, and our staff did come together to vastly improve the process. So I don't know, without knowing who was at this summit that they talk about, we don't really know if it's people that only do business with the district once in a decade, or if these are people that just have specific access to grind, which is unfortunate. But yeah, thank you to our staff for having implemented so many improvements already based on the feedback from the construction industry.
Thank you. Number 3, that's for information. This is input from Airbnb to our short-term rental process. Number 4, input on current electoral district boundaries. Sorry, Councillor McLean, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. We jumped around there a little bit. Just, do we want to make that appointment official? It's technically a new body.
Are you not an official person already, given the housing portfolio that you're holding here?
Yeah, like we appointed me as liaison to the Central Coast Affordable Housing Society. It's a new committee. I don't know what the process is.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Let me look at what it's saying in the letter.
They're just restructuring. So it's going to only be It's not a liaison to the board. It's a group of elected officials from across the Sunshine Coast that kind of
Okay.
meet in a new capacity.
So you'd like to be appointed to that as well, and then you'd still attend the others. Is that correct?
No, I'm not attending board meetings anymore. It's meant to replace that. Yeah.
Okay. So would you like to make a recommendation? Or would you like one of us to make a recommendation? Question, Councillor Toth?
Yeah, sorry, Councillor McLean, just a quick question. If I'm not aware of what they're doing to restructure here. You mentioned that you're not going to be attending their board meetings anymore. Is that because there's no longer a place for local government representation at those meetings? It's through this system instead, or is it a capacity issue? Should we be appointing somebody to sit at their board meetings if you're doing this? Yeah, just a little clarification.
Yeah, so it was a request from, I guess, them, in part from, I guess, Gibson's involvement in the committee and the lack of the SCRD involvement in the board. So they thought of different ways to do it. So they've thought, instead of attending the whole board meeting, we can just have a quick 20-minute meeting and get it all done with. And the elected officials don't have to sit through the operational details.
Okay, so you'd like us to make a motion to appoint Councillor McLean as a representative to join the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society's Intergovernmental Liaison Group.
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll make that motion. We've got lots of seconders. All those in favor? Thank you. It's official. And we just knew you were doing it anyway, so now it's official. All right. Thank you. Let me go back to the beginning of the correspondence.
If I could jump
Go
in.
ahead.
So next one was the Airbnb letter.
Yes.
They extended an offer to participate in their city portal. I don't know if staff has considered that, but I would like to. It seems like it's an easy win for us. Just getting more direct information from Airbnb would be helpful.
Okay, so you're talking about the stuff that's at the bottom of page 106, the Airbnb city portal. Mr. Allen?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Staff and our consultant from EcoPlan do have a meeting lined up with Airbnb next week, and we will be pleased to report back to Council with some more information after that meeting.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Toth.
Thank you. Just with regards to the Airbnb city portal, it sounds an awful lot like many of the tools that we were looking for out of Granicus. Is that generally, are they generally offering up the same sort of suite of data that we would be otherwise paying for from Granicus?
Interesting question, and we also have a meeting with Granicus tomorrow. So unfortunately, I will be away and will miss the Airbnb meeting, but I'll consult with staff and we'll compare and contrast and report back to Council through our next steps in reporting on this project.
I would say one of the differences will be Granicus works with all platforms, right? Where Airbnb is probably not going to report on their competitors. Councillor McLean? Yeah,
just one thing I do know is that they note that they work on host compliance to city policy and bylaws. So that could potentially lead to us being able to take postings down from Airbnb and them being a more active participant in that, which I think would be highly valuable. Of course, then people could go to other platforms and then it just goes back to bylaw, but it's one option.
Thank you. Anything further on any of those before we go to the last one? The last one is a letter from the Sandy Hook Community Association with regard to the Tot Park Picnic Shelter. And what they're asking for is mayor and council support. and advice for this project, but I think they're looking to be able to come to staff for support as they move forward. Councillor McLean?
I love this idea. I think it's a perfect location. This Sandy Hook community has talked about for years about the creation of a gathering place. So I love to see this initiative coming from them. In terms of feedback, I think the design presented on page 111 looks incredibly nice. But I think from a form and function, I think looking to an example of Porpoise Bay Park and some of the picnic shelters there is a really good example of something that might be a little more within the budgets available.
Thank you. So would we like to send them a letter of support for their project? Councillor Toth?
I guess I will move that we provide them a letter of support, and I don't know that we necessarily want to direct that staff work with them on this at this point. We'll see what they come back with, but yeah, that we provide them a letter of support on this project.
Okay, and encourage them to move forward with their project. Is there a seconder? Seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Anything further on the correspondence? Seeing none, are there any emergency items?
No, Your Worship. Terribly sorry, some technical difficulties there.
Thank you very much. So I'd look for a motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded, all in favor?